When I started writing my book, Bullshift, I didn't fully realize that I had embarked upon a journey of finding contemporary examples of public choice theory. In fact, it all began with my writing down seemingly random impressions of developments as I tried to make sense of the world. Like so many people, I was precluded from working in my office in March of 2020 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Finding myself at home and more introspective than usual as a result of this unprecedented, at least in my lifetime, circumstance, I began to ruminate about how the interplay between politics and the economy had been playing out. I also had some thoughts about how they might play out in the future, and I was only partially correct. I'm an optimist by nature, but also a realist, and I was growing uncomfortable with how the challenges of the time were being downplayed and sugarcoated. Specifically, I endorsed the Western world's COVID playbook of central banks bringing interest rates to zero and central governments sending out checks to those who had been sent home to avert what could have easily been both an economic and a public health catastrophe. Over time, my jottings and ramblings about stream of consciousness concerns coalesced into a thesis. I couldn't help but notice that politicians representing the party in power and financial advisors representing well heeled investors use similar self serving narratives as they went about their business. Both the political party in power and the financial advisors to the well to do tended to shift your attention to make you feel bullish. That, in essence, is bullshift. It is self serving and good for business, but not necessarily consistent with the notion of giving clear headed counsel. It wasn't until recently that I realized how my bullshift thesis is just an example of something that is well known and broadly accepted: public choice theory. Public choice theory is typically defined as the use of economic tools to deal with traditional problems of political science. Public choice includes the study of political behavior. The term is often used as a shorthand for how elected officials' perceived self interest can influence their decisions. Economist James Buchanan received the 1986 Nobel Prize in Economics for his development of the contractual and constitutional basis for the theory of economic and political decision making. It's a subset of political theory that studies self interested agents and their interactions, and it can be represented in several ways. Examples include utility maximization, game theory, and decision theory. If you've ever wondered why Donald Trump is putting pressure on Jerome Powell to lower interest rates, look no further than public choice for an explanation. I suspect many financial advisors secretly hope Trump succeeds with his pressure. The economy and the stock market are different, but nonetheless related. And politicians live and die by how well the economy is doing. Financial advisors live and die by how well the stock market is doing. Both generally need things to be going well to succeed in their respective fields. Public choice analysis has roots in positive analysis, which is to say what is, but is sometimes used for normative purposes, what ought to be, to identify a problem. Again, what is happening is that political pressure is being used to influence public policy decisions. What ought to be happening is that those decisions should be made independently, with no political considerations or interference. Another example is Donald Trump's use of tariffs to gain leverage for himself, his cronies, and nominally and purportedly for his country. And that offers a toxic melange of politics and economics based on brazen self-interest. Buchanan and Gordon Tullock argue that the only final test of a model lies in its ability to assist in understanding real phenomena. Rather than ring alarm bells about how tariff policies are destabilizing the world order, financial advisors, many of which act as self-described behavioral coaches, are maintaining their clients' asset allocations and remaining silent on the matter. The tariffs are real and are now in effect virtually everywhere. If anything, advisors are more inclined to assure people that the economy is stable and unlikely to see a major pullback. The offshoot is that, by extension, there's a clear inclination to shift perspective toward one where capital markets are not as risky as they objectively are. Trump's modus operandi is to manufacture and perpetuate chaos for personal gain, yet many financial advisors act as though nothing has materially changed, and they tell their clients that nothing in their investing approach needs to change either. Notwithstanding 5 short weeks in early 2020 and a modest rough patch in 2022, capital markets haven't seen a significant and prolonged downturn since early 2009. Keeping investors calm and optimistic is the surest way to keep the money flowing. It's a self-serving, but entirely sensible and effective way to do things most of the time. The approach is both easy to understand and easy to justify if and when the bulls are running. This comes down to a philosophical decision. Is it prudent to alert clients about the heightened risks their portfolios are subjected to, or is it prudent to act as though there is nothing to see here? This is where I break with most of my advisory brethren. The world has unequivocally changed. And in my view, that change needs to be tangibly acknowledged in how people think about investing. If there's a high end and a low end of what's acceptable in terms of risk tolerance and risk capacity, then surely moving to the low end of that range is warranted in these turbulent times. That sort of shift needs to be seriously contemplated.